open housing just kind of opened the floodgates and made it possible for anybody and everybody to live in any parts of the city. My father was a realtor. In fact, my father, Charles Hughes Sr., was one of the first prominent African-American realtors in Gary. He started out working for this company, Devaney, and he trained a lot of the African-American realtors, Powers, and others that are around now. He was really a pioneer in that business. And so my father took it upon himself to do what he had always aspired to do, and that was to be a businessman. So he quit U.S. Steel and he went and worked for Devaney Realty. He was the only black salesperson there. This was a white-owned company at that particular time. And so my father was engaging, his personality was engaging. I guess I can say this and not feel jealous, but he was an awfully good-looking guy too. All of those things worked in his favor, and he was able to cross that bridge and talk to people and get clients and meet with folks and all of that. And after a while, he ventured out on his own and established Hughes Realty, and he was very successful. He was a salesman, he was a businessman, and he was a personality. And I think that helped as much as anything else. And so we were able then to move to the more affluent, at the time, Tollerston area of the city of Gary. That was an area for black professionals. If you lived in Tollerston, particularly if you were on Taft Street where I was and in that area, it was black professionals. And so that was early on part of the migration out of the Midtown area, Gary, into other areas. I learned the real estate business from my dad. The thing that prepared me was his efforts. In terms of real estate at that particular time, you had to battle with others who were in real estate sales, who were African American, with selling the homes primarily of African Americans. That's who your customer base was primarily. Now, if you had relationships with people, and my father had established many relationships, whether they would call him, or if they called the office, then certainly we would have an opportunity to deal with real estate deals no matter wherever they were in the city of Gary. You weren't selling them in Miller near the beach, wasn't selling them in Glen Park. It's amazing that Glen Park is so heavily African American now. There are some people, young folks now, that they can't envision the fact that if you're familiar with Gary at all, where the Interstate 8094 is, you did not cross that bridge from Midtown. I mean, you just didn't cross it. There was no reason to cross it. You wasn't getting a job, you wasn't going to school, you had no relatives or friends, so you were sort of condensed into where you could sell. It didn't affect the white companies as much, because even black people had the mindset that if I'm gonna get the best deal, if I'm gonna get the most professional expertise, then I'm gonna get it from white folks, or have the wider range of choices too. Yeah. It was. Let me put it this way: it was more of an inclination for blacks to go to a white realtor than whites to come to a black realtor. But again, I'm gonna say this now: they could go, but they weren't going to Miller, places like that. So, and I'm not just putting the onus just on the realtor. It was a realtor, but the person selling the property too had a right to sell to who they wanted to sell to as well. If you were a black person coming to me and said, look, I got money, I want to live in Miller, I want to live anywhere I want to live, I tell them, look, I will call some agents out there, see what's available, but I'm just gonna let you know now that you know what times that we're living in. It'll be difficult, but I will do my due diligence. I'll call and see what's going on. I wouldn't categorically tell a person, no, it's impossible, no, you can't do it. But in those changing areas where maybe homeowners were seeing that, well, the area is changing anyway, then they may have been more inclined to sell their homes to a black person, which would open that market up a little more. But after the open housing activities that took place, then every area, including Miller, Glen Park, and those areas heretofore that had been totally exclusively white and exclusive of blacks, then it opened up open housing throughout the community. If you go into the Miller area right now, and you traverse the lakefront, you see those beautiful homes right on the lake. I mean, $1 million homes, homes worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. There are people who fled those homes and literally gave them away just so they couldn't be around black folks when open housing and all that occurred. And they moved to some of our suburban areas, and they moved into bungalows and frame buildings, and it's like, wow. So I think there's a realization now that Gary has to evolve, Gary has to change, Gary has to come back, because I think people want to come back. I think it was a reflex action that after a while, oh my God, did I give away my beautiful home right here on the lakefront? And so I think that was the far-reaching effect of racism at that point.